Oh, cool. I'm gonna give you one just like that. Thanks.
Yeah.
What is it called? A Kornorge?
Kornorge. What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be reviewing the Kornorge A9 e-bike. This one is a folding e-bike. It's a really affordable and cheap bike, and I thought it was worth talking about. So first things first, this is a really small bike. It is not a powerful bike at all. It doesn't have a really high top speed or anything, but it's a bike that's really cheap and could have some use cases if you're someone who needs a cheap bike to get around. Overall style of the bike, you can see it's just pretty much just a standard folding bike. It has a rear hub motor. The rear hub motor is only 250 watts, so not a super powerful motor, which is to be expected with a bike that's so cheap and so small. For tires, it uses 20-inch tires, quick release on the front there, 7-speed drivetrain. It has front and rear mechanical disc brakes. And because it's a folding bike, it has all the usual parts that fold up. You've got this part here in the middle, which allows it to fold in the middle. And of course, this part here, that lets you fold the handlebars down. Then the pedals as well can also fold up like that. Looking at the handlebars, it uses just a regular straight handlebar. Display over here on the left side. Throttle over here on the right. Pretty basic grips here. Mechanical disc brakes. It had 7-speed Shimano shifters and has this little bell too. This part here can come up and you can change the angle of the bars if you want, or remove it altogether for quick removal. It does have a front headlight, which is controlled by the display there. Also has a rear tail light built into the seat here, so that's nice as well. So the unique factor with this bike is the seat here. The battery is actually built into the seat, which is different. It means that you do have to take the whole seat off if you want to charge it inside, or unless you want to bring the whole bike inside with you. And the plug is underneath here. And I'm not going to do it now because it's just a bit too much of a hassle for me to do, especially while holding the camera. But basically, there's a plug here. This connects to the motor. You unplug this, take the seat out, and then you plug into the back here. It has an on-off switch as well for the seat, so if you ever forget, this is what you have to do. You gotta turn it on or off if you want. And then this here is a little key that you can lock it so that someone can't take the seat with you, since it is the battery as well. Kind of interesting that they did that. I can see why they did that, because it does keep it so that it's very, compact. And the specs on this bike are not like super powerful or anything. It's a 250 watt motor. My top speed is only 15 miles when pedaling, so not a very fast bike either. 36 volt, 7.5 amp hour battery. Takes about 4 to 5 hours to charge it up all the way. The bike itself, it only weighs 41 pounds, so it's a very light bike, easy to pick up. Max range of 25 miles, so not a high range bike by any means, not a fast bike, but it is a cheap and very affordable e-bike, coming in typically at around $400. So if you are on a strict budget and you're looking for a bike, this is definitely one you could take a look at. It doesn't come with any fenders or anything, so you'd have to add those, and no cargo capacity. But again, for a $400 bike, that's kind of to be expected. So anyway, I'm over here at the mall right now. I was just finishing eating lunch, and we're actually going to go take it and take care of some stuff. I've got a secret shop I need to do. I'm hoping I could get a Grubhub or Uber Eats delivery, but I'm out in the burbs. I might not get anything, so I might just be riding it back into the city. But I'm going to ride it around. We'll see how it performs, and I'll kind of talk about my experience with it and who this bike is made for. So let's go and get out there on the road. Okay, and we are off on the Kornorge A9. It's a little tiny, pretty much a mini e-bike. And right now we're going to head over to Raising Cane's. The only thing is I have to go through the drive-thru, so I hope they'll let me go through the drive-thru on the bike. So So talking about this bike, it can actually pedal totally fine. I find it's not like as much of a clown bike as some of the other tiny e-bikes. I don't know if I would call this a mini e-bike per se, but it's pretty close. Like it's closer to a mini e-bike than a real like full-size e-bike. And the pedal assist, I'll say, does not feel very good. If you put the gears lower to like 5 instead of 7, then you can feel the pedal assist like working as you pedal. But if you put it up higher to like 7 stuff, it really doesn't feel like the pedal assist does anything. So this bike is definitely more of a throttle bike than you would do a pedal bike. But again, you can see the top speed on this bike, it's only 15 miles an hour, going slightly uphill, and I'm going about 14. This is not a fast bike by any means. There's 3 levels of pedal assist, 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, in the pedal assist, it really doesn't feel like it does much if you're in a high gear. You gotta be like in a lower gear for it to feel like it's actually doing something. This is definitely not a bike you're gonna feel like pedaling a lot. You'll probably be throttling this bike mainly. Here we are at Raising Cane. I'm gonna see if they'll let me go into the drive-thru because that's what I need to do. Yeah, going through a drive-thru on the bike, it usually is better if the bike is bigger because this is like a really small bike to be going through the drive-thru on, but we'll see. They might not let me order. While we're here, we can talk about these handlebars. The handlebar position is pretty comfortable. And the display is pretty good. It gives you a lot of information on it. You've got your mode, your speed, your battery power, and then your odometer and stuff. It's got a front headlight if you hold the plus button.
Can I get started for you?
Hey, can I get a box combo?
All right, what's your drink with that?
With a lemonade.
Anything else for you? And
that's it. Good, I was able to get that through. Hey, box combo with lemonade, yes.
This is the first time I've seen somebody come through on a bike.
Roll through on the bike? Yeah.
That's awesome. I thought about doing it on my electric bike too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they'd let me.
Sometimes people don't let you. It's kind of depends on...
It's a vehicle.
I mean, it's like if I was on a motorcycle, you'd let me, right?
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Hello, box combo with lemonade. Yes, thank you.
Would you like any ketchup?
Sure, I'll take some ketchup in there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like your car.
Yeah, right.
What did it cost you? I need to get one of those.
This one's really cheap. This one's only $400.
Oh, cool. I'm going to give you one just right there.
Yeah.
What is it called? A Kornorge?
Kornorge, yeah. It's only $400. This one's a cheap one. All right. All right, nice. They did let me through. Good. Okay, I gotta take a little break here so I can organize my stuff. Mainly, I gotta drink this lemonade here because I'm not gonna be able to carry it with me. I don't have a cup holder. Okay, I'm just gonna chug this lemonade and then we'll continue on our way. Not getting any deliveries, so I'll probably just be biking it back and talking about this bike. Got a nice little break there. Drank our lemonade, and now we'll start heading back towards the city. So it's a little city commuting bike. I think this bike is actually pretty fine for that. It's definitely, you gotta understand what you're getting into with this bike. Because it's not a powerful bike. The pedal assist isn't great, but it is really small, it is really compact, and it is really cheap. At $400, you're not really gonna find a lot of e-bikes that cheap. One thing about this bike is definitely a really quiet bike. Like a lot of bikes, you'll hear a lot of motor noise and stuff. This bike basically makes no sound at all. It's completely dead silent. Part of it probably has to do with the fact the motor is a very small motor. But yeah, it's a really quiet bike. No shocks or anything, so it is a little bit of a bumpy ride. But if you're just riding around, it's not too bad. And, you know, 14, 15 miles an hour is plenty quick enough for most use cases. Like, you're not gonna be zipping along too fast on this, but it does the job. And yeah, the display is good. Really gives you a lot of good information. The throttle is really good. I like the like way this throttle is shaped. It's very comfortable. And then just like the handlebar and stuff is pretty good and comfortable. I think the most important thing with this bike is to understand what you're getting into. That this is not like a full-fledged bike. I mean, it's like a cross between like a mini e-bike and something else, you know? It's not exactly a mini e-bike, but it's not really much more than that either. So yeah, the advertised range on this bike is 25 miles, and I've already dipped down a bar. 25 miles probably seems about right. If you went full throttle, you'd probably get a little less. So you're not gonna take this bike for like long rides, and I wouldn't recommend taking this bike for long rides anyway, just because it's too slow. But like if you're going to work, you wanna be able to bring it in, you don't wanna risk like losing a really expensive bike. This one's pretty good for that type of purpose. But yeah, so pedaling, you can see it's not too bad to pedal it, but it definitely has some weird pedal assist thing where it really doesn't feel like it's doing much unless you're like in super low gear. So I wouldn't rely on this bike for the pedal assist. It's definitely more of a throttle bike. But yeah, on this straightaway, let's see the top speed we can get on it using just the throttle. You can see this is a pretty flat space right here. And we're about 14.6 miles per hour. 14, yeah, so 14 miles per hour on this sort of flat, slightly uphill ride here. So if you're really steep terrain, it's probably gonna feel pretty slow. For flat ground like this, it works out okay. Yeah, so here on this flat ground here, we're getting 15. So sounds about right with the top speed of being around 15 miles an hour. So in terms of who this would be good for, yeah, like if you got a short city commute and you're really on a budget, like a heavy budget, and you're just looking for like a thing to get you around, you could go with a bike like this. And you know, if you think about it, at 400 bucks, if you use this for like food delivery or some gig stuff, you can make your money back pretty quick. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, this isn't a bike you can do deliveries all day on or anything, but you can work a couple lunch shifts, a couple dinner shifts, and charging the bike back up isn't too bad. It's a pretty quick charge, you know, 4 to 5 hours from zero. Another spot that this bike is good for is for like, if you're not like the most comfortable biker. So I'll tell you the people who use this bike in my household. My mother has used this bike a lot, and she's old and isn't the strongest biker. So this little bike works out pretty well for her actually, just because it's not so fast and doesn't like jolt you or anything, and she can easily get her foot on the ground if she has to. Also, like teenagers can use this bike too. I think it's actually a good one for a teenager because it's, again, not so fast, not so dangerous. And it's good for just kind of getting you around. So, you know, my niece uses this bike and it's pretty good for her because it's just not so difficult to control this bike because it's not that powerful and it's pretty small. Oh, so one thing with the throttle I noticed, I think if you hold it long enough, it has like an auto, maybe? Actually, I can't tell. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just slightly downhill. But yeah, definitely not a pedal bike. It's definitely more of a throttle bike. I would think of this more like a sit-down scooter than as a bike. Oh, one thing to think about if you're going to get this bike is servicing it. The parts should be serviceable. The only issue is I don't trust the staying power of a company like this because they really seem like this company is so small and I have no idea what the customer service will be like. I haven't had any issues with the bike so far, luckily, but honestly, if I did have issues with the bike, I would not count on this company to do anything really to help. Just something to think about. But again, for 400 bucks, I mean, even if this bike only lasts you for a year or two, you'd probably get your money's worth. Uh-oh, and we've got a tree down in the bike trail. We had some big storms recently, so looks like they haven't had a chance to clear this. Luckily, you can see this bike at just 41 pounds can easily just be lifted right up over it. And that's something about this bike that's so good. 41 pounds, for an e-bike is really light. And there are not a lot of e-bikes in that weight range. So that's something to think about. Even a lot of scooters they have weigh more than this. And, you know, a lot of it is just because since the battery isn't that big and it's like in the seat, you know, all that kind of helps to keep the weight of the bike low. Yeah, and the brakes are pretty squeaky. They're just regular mechanical disc brakes, which is fine, but something to be aware about. I find them annoying because I do clean the brakes every once in a while and kind of get rid of the squeak for a bit, but then they'll come back right away. You know, if you brake slowly, it doesn't have any issues, but if you brake hard, you get that squeak. So, no fenders on this bike, which is something that you may want to add. I believe they sell fenders for this. Cheap ones, like they're like 20 bucks or 29 bucks or something. And they might be given away for free sometimes too with the bike. Fenders would be helpful, especially if you're riding in wet conditions or in mud or anything, because otherwise you're gonna get splashed. So we're gonna do a little hill test. There's kind of a big hill around this way. So we're gonna go to that big hill and we're just gonna see how it does going up the hill. Now mind you, I'm not big, I only weigh 150 pounds. It'll be different depending on how heavy you are. This bike is definitely made for someone who's smaller. I wouldn't want to ride it if I was like too big. You'd probably want to be 200 pounds or less to really make use of this bike. Yeah, the quietness of this bike though, it's really extraordinary to me, I think. A lot of e-bikes can be like pretty loud with the motor. This one just really makes no sound at all. All right, so we're gonna go up this big hill over here and see how it does. Okay, here we go. We're going just straight uphill, fairly steep hill here. And you know, this motor is doing totally fine. I mean, here it is, 14 miles an hour, and you know, I'm not pedaling it at all. I'm just using the throttle, and it's making it up the hill. Again, I don't weigh that much, so that's why it's able to do this, but it's pretty good still. So the speed going up this hill is 12 miles an hour. Going up a pretty big hill, as you can see. 10 miles an hour, so it's getting a little bit of struggling going here, 9, and it's using up a lot of battery. So we're gonna have to start pedaling a little bit to give it a little bit of extra juice. You know, it seems like you can make it up these hills though without too much of a problem. Yeah, look at that. That was one of the bigger hills here in the city, and it made it up all the way. So yeah, you know, this bike, it's an interesting one. I'm not really sure if I would recommend it or not. I think I would if you're really in the market for a really cheap bike. But even then, if you're like in the market for a bike like this, I'd probably go with one like the DYU D3F or one of these really mini e-bikes that are even cheaper. Because I don't really know what this serves that an even smaller bike doesn't. I mean, the benefit is it is really light. And it does use 20-inch wheels. A lot of mini e-bikes use really small wheels, like even smaller than the 20-inch wheels. So I guess that is something to consider. But yeah, for 400 bucks, I guess I would recommend it if you're in the market for a really cheap e-bike and you're on a limited budget like this. Most people probably don't need this bike. I do think there are some good use case scenarios though, because it does work for someone who is smaller, and the fact that it isn't like super powerful is a good thing, because if you're not like the most skilled rider, a bike like this would be pretty useful. But I would say that it's not for anyone who is looking for a bike because they want a bike. Or this definitely is not like a bike. It's a bike that you would be using like a scooter to just pedal, just to throttle around, maybe do some very light pedaling. Doesn't look like we're gonna get any deliveries, so we're just gonna do this video with no deliveries and just me talking about the bike. You did get to see me use the bike through the drive-thru though. So at least something interesting happened. But yeah, overall, this bike, it's a fun little bike. The price is right for sure. I would only buy this bike if it was in the $400 price range. It's gotta be like $450 or less. I think the retail price on this is probably have it like $600. I wouldn't spend 600 on this bike. I would spend 450 on it because I do think you can get your money's worth out of a bike like this. You know, if you live in a city and you just need to get something that can get you commuting, you know, a few miles each way, this totally works. You know, a 3-mile commute on this bike, no problem at all. Anyway, just do another stop here to look over the bike again. You can see it's a good solid bike, small, easy to put in your car. It's not bad for 400 bucks. So yeah, I think it's a fun little bike. I wish I could have done some deliveries on it, but oh well. Well, anyway, I think that is gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed this little look into the Kornorge A9. Small little bike, worked up well on that hill, and very smooth, easy riding bike. Not powerful or anything, you only can get 15 miles per hour on it. But for a bike that's 400 bucks, and if you're like in the market for a bike like this, it works very well. So anyway, I'm gonna go get myself back on the bike trail again. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you see, please hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. And until next time, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.